hi. I see that I have people joining me live as well. So hi, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me live. For everyone as well that will be watching the replay, welcome. And thank you for watching the video. And if, again, it's the first time that we're meeting, my name is Isabel Martins from healthandnaturallife.com, and I work with all things energy and consciousness. Usually on the outside that looks like energy clearing, animal communication, teaching, sharing my insights, but pretty much anything that has to do with us being more aware of our energy and knowing how to work with our energy to come back to a greater place of wholeness. That's my jam. That's what I love. That's my passion. And that's what I do, and that's what I share as well in these videos in my channel. Today, I want to be talking about something interesting. As I was sketching what I wanted to share, I have my sketch here in front of me, just in case, because there's a lot of moving parts for this. It's going to be a tying together of things that we're all familiar with: self-love, people-pleasing, guilt, but these tie together for me in a very clear way this week. After reading Dr. David Hawkins' Letting Go, it just clicked, just made sense that, yeah, this is pretty much a vicious cycle that most of us, if not all, get caught on from the early years of our experience. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And I'll be sharing some things today that it's not everything that came through, because that would just make for a huge video. But what I will be sharing today, it feels that it's the foundational basis for our people-pleasing habit, or for our need to be liked and approved of by other people. And all of this starts very, very innocently, and we are still doing it to the next generation. So again, it's innocent, and it starts with us being little kids and having someone, might be our parents, might be other adults, authority figures, saying something as simple as, it's bad to touch the stove, or don't do that, it's wrong, or it's bad to cross the street. These are very seemingly inconsequential things for an adult mind, but for a child's mind, what this does is a double-edged sort of impact. First, there's a feeling of scare, and when we are scared, especially when we are little, there's a feeling exactly like this. We pull our breath, we pretty much pause our experience of reality, and we create a moment that is going to be a trauma for us. So we hold and contain our experience in that moment in time, and our senses go on alert to see, okay, so what's going on, what's happening, what do I need to pay attention to? We create a trauma and our senses go on high alert. And what we make of this is that there's something that we did wrong, and because we are children at that point, it's not something that we did that was wrong. We associate that with our identity. So there's something wrong with me, and this kind of creates the two sides that at least I've come across that lead us to people pleasing, which is the guilt, I did something wrong, so I'm going to be punished. There's a fear of punishment that comes associated with guilt, and there's also the sadness that's associated with those experiences of there's something wrong with me, or love is being withheld from me. When we are punished, when we are told off, when we are scolded, there's also a feeling of love is being held from us, and because of that there's something wrong with us. And we're starting to associate at that time that we are unlovable. So it goes from guilt to shame. And shame is there's something wrong with me. We feel unlovable on one hand, and then we try to get that love from other people. And we feel afraid, there's something wrong, that trauma moment. And because of experiences from the past, we fear punishment as well. So we try to people please from that perspective as well. I have something here that I just took notes from Dr. David Hawkins' Letting Go book, which is an interesting thing. So I'm just going to read it because it shows how this guilt, even if we're not aware of guilt in our lives, it's just running as an undercurrent almost all of the time. He says that we feel guilty no matter what we are doing. A part of our mind says that we really ought to be doing something else, or whatever we are actually doing at the moment, we ought to be doing better. So we start shooting ourselves. That whenever we are feeling that in our lives, there's an undercurrent of guilt that's running, and we're not even aware of it most of the time. We end up with these two very detrimental things. One is feeling of guilt and fear of punishment. So I did something wrong. There's a potential of being punished. And the other one is that sadness that comes with thinking and associating with the other person's perspective of us that makes us feel, okay, I am bad. There's something wrong with me. I'm unlovable. Those two are what feeds our people pleasing. So why do we people please? When it comes from the guilt and fear of punishment side, I'm just going to exemplify with something in my life right now, even as I'm aware of these things. I live in a building, so I have neighbors. One of my neighbors has a little bit of issues with anger. So that's a person that has a lot of anger suppressed, and it just comes out, and I hear it from my apartment. And I notice that even as an adult living in my own apartment, I go out of my way to be quiet, to not make noises so as to not disturb the anger of that person. And this isn't conscious, not at all, but it is something that I catch myself doing, just being very quiet in the morning. And it's not a quiet that comes from being respectful or being attentive to people around me. It's a quiet that just is deliberately out of my way to be quiet so as to not make noise that would get the person angry and blowing up. And this doesn't make any sense. And I know it consciously, but internally there's still that fear of punishment. And that's what's causing me to people please in a way that I don't even know this person. It doesn't even matter. They will never know what I'm doing. So it's still people pleasing because I am adjusting my behavior in order to avoid feeling that that person is angry with me or to avoid punishment. That would never happen, the punishment side of it, but it's still a fear that it's conditioning my natural way of living and response. That's maybe I don't know if it's a silly example, but that's an example of something that drives us to people please because of fear of punishment. And this usually is more active when we have people that remind us of our authority figures early on in life for whatever reason. For instance, if I was in the middle of a lot of anger being triggered, it's something that I'm very aware of because of that trauma that was created in my infancy. And because of that, anyone that kind of reminds me of that trigger happy situation, I will try to people please from the fear of being punished. And then we have the other side. So when it comes from the fear of us not being lovable, of there being something wrong with us, we then try to get love from the other person by, of course, trying to do something that we know that they will like so that they will shine that love upon us. So we have these two sides to people pleasing. And what I wanted just to share in this particular video, and I will not go over this, it's just these two facets to people pleasing and what we can do, of course, to start disentangling ourselves from it. It's the fear of punishment because it feels to us as a fear of a loss of security somehow, or a fear of loss of safety that gets us into people pleasing to keep ourselves secure or safe. And then there's a fear of loss of esteem, by either the other person losing their esteem for us or losing our own self-esteem. And that's why we try to please as well, to try to validate that, yes, we are lovable. Yes, this person loves us. Yes, I am a good person. Those are the two sides of people pleasing that are at the foundational level. What can we actually do with this? When you find yourself in a people pleasing mode, let's put it like that, or at least having that urge to go out of your way to please somebody, just ask yourself, so what am I trying to gain from this person? And you can also ask, if you are clear that it's something that comes from fear, what am I trying to avoid from this person? And you'll see, usually it's very simple things. We're trying to gain their love, we're trying to gain their approval, we're trying to gain their esteem, we're trying to keep their high opinion of us, because that's another thing. When we are little, we start associating what other people think of us, we start associating as our identity. That's who we are. And although we know as adults that that's not the case, we still do this. We still associate our identity with other people's opinions of us. So when people's opinions of us drop because we do something that they don't like, that makes us feel that we're losing our own self-esteem, not just their esteem for us, but our own sense of our esteem for ourselves. So we might be trying to avoid feeling that. Just ask yourself these questions. So what am I trying to gain from this person? Or what am I trying to avoid from this person? And just identify the underlying feeling. It might be that I don't want them to think bad of me. Okay, so what are you trying to avoid feeling in that way? Okay, I'm trying to avoid feeling, might be that I'm a bad person, trying to avoid feeling sadness, trying to avoid feeling disappointment, trying to avoid feeling unloved. Whatever comes up for you will be the right combination for the situation that you're experiencing. If it's something, for instance, like what I described with my neighbor, what am I trying to avoid feeling here? It would be, I'm trying to avoid feeling fear, trying to avoid feeling unsafe, trying to avoid feeling bad, that I'm bad even. All of those come up. So just ask yourself, what is that I'm trying to avoid feeling after what it is that I'm trying to gain or avoid from this person. And then go hardcore on it. Allow yourself to feel it, because it's the fact that we have these emotions stored in our energy field and in our body that we don't want to feel. We don't want to look at them. We don't want to let them come up. We're trying to push them down. And it is that reservoir that we keep trying to push down and avoid, that's causing us then for the rest of our lives to try to avoid feeling by pleasing this person, pleasing that person, restricting ourselves, restricting our lives. It's not worth the payoff. So for us to just go head on, straight, holding the bull by the horns. Don't know why, maybe to pet it. Whatever, it's not a nice picture, but might as well just go straight into the heart of the issue and feel the emotions. And anything that I've shared in the previous videos and a lot of the clearing videos, the techniques to feel this, the easiest one would be to just focus on the sensations, notice what it is. Okay, so let's just imagine, I don't want to feel unloved. I don't want to feel bad. Just that's okay. I want to feel this that I was avoiding. I'm feeling bad, I'm a bad person. You know that it isn't true, but let that feeling, let that fear come up to the surface, that maybe some part of me thinks that I'm a bad person. Let it come up. Don't think about it, focus on your body. Just let the sensations come up and let yourself be present with them as best you can. Don't go into stories. Things might pop in your head, but just stay in your body, stay with the sensations, breathe through your body, relax your body. This is the process of letting go, pretty much. It's just you tapping into something that's causing the pressure that is then triggering you to people please from whatever source it's triggering that urge in you, you're going deep into the root cause of it, and you're just allowing the steam, the energy of that trigger to start diffusing, to start coming up. And you'll notice that you'll feel more and more settled in yourself. You'll notice more and more that you don't have the urge to people please. And when the urge still comes, because it's a habit, you'll just be able to acknowledge it as time goes by and just go, okay, there's another way of me actually doing this or interacting with this person. And you'll start choosing that new way much, much, much more easily. The more that you release these pent up fears and emotions that you didn't want, I don't want still to feel. So it's just a matter of that. We have two main, at least those are the ones that came to me, main triggers for people pleasing. And it is the fear of loss of security and a fear of loss of safety, so the guilt and the fear of punishment. And then we have the fear of loss of esteem by the other person or our own esteem for ourselves, and that comes from the sadness, from the feeling of there's something wrong with me, maybe I'm not lovable. Those two are the main triggers. So those two are the ones that we can dig into those feelings deeper and deeper. When we feel that we're wanting to people please someone, just ask yourself, what am I trying to gain from this person? Or what am I trying to avoid from this person? And that will just immediately tell you on which side you are playing. And from that, just ask, okay, so what's the emotion that I am trying to avoid feeling right now? Notice what it is and just go for it. Actually allow yourself to feel it. It might not be in that situation, it might be later, but allow yourself to feel it, bring it up, be in your body, don't go into stories, and allow the energy of that pent up storage of emotions to come up and start diffusing. You will be freer, you will be happier, you will feel the relief of just letting all of that come to the surface, and you'll see in your daily life how things start to change. I will at some point, maybe even next week, cover other points that keep us as well in people-pleasing mode, but for now I think this, I don't want to dilute this because these are the foundational, at least that's how it came to me. I'd love to hear more from you as well if you have other insights. But these are foundational aspects to people pleasing. And the more that we are aware of them and the more that we see them play out in our lives, the more that we can start to release those triggers, those old bases, foundations for this habit of people pleasing. And I'll cover other practical ways as well of releasing and shifting this habit later on when it feels relevant. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for your feedback. Miguel, Bob, thank you for joining me live, and I'll see you in the next video.